Welcome to Books Are Good Medicine, a podcast sponsored by the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux community, featuring books and other Native American-focused teaching resources. We are your hosts, Allison Odia
and Odia Wood-Krieger. High schoolers often enjoy reading books that explore themes of identity, coming-of-age stories, and books that delve into social issues. In high school, students are also learning how to analyze texts and themes in their literature more critically.
In today's episode, we are sharing our picks for the top Native American books that every high school library should have. We hope you enjoy. Hi, Odia.
Hi, Allison.
So, good to see you.
Good to see you. Always good to see you.
So, this podcast, we were talking about high school books that you should have in your library, in your schools, in your homes, anywhere on your shelves, really. So for high school, I really tried to give a variety.
Oh, yeah.
And I did my best. And I just feel like high school, when I was subbing high school, there was just such a variety. I feel like middle school people are, kids are still trying to decide, but high school is like, they kind of are really identified with, who they are and maybe what their main interests are. And when I was subbing, I think it was, and I worked in the library. I don't know if I ever shared that, but my friend Ben was the librarian at the time at the Menominee Indian High School. And it was my first long-term sub. I got to be in the library, and it was, some of the best times of my life, except it was freezing in there. And I had just moved back to Wisconsin. And so I always had layers, and the students made fun of me, but whatever. But this, I feel we have even come a long way from 14, 15 years ago. And these books, I would have given anything to have read them in high school. So really excited that these authors are being published and accessible to our students, native and non-native. And we'll just kind of list our favorites and go from there. What do you think?
I think it's just overall, I think it's really interesting, this particular episode. Just in my work when I was at MPS, Minneapolis Public, a lot of the anchor texts were very complex, like, The Roundhouse by Louise Erdrich,
right,
or Ceremony by Leslie Marmon Silko,
right,
which are pivotal,
right,
super important books. But I was also like, these are really hard reads. Like even Robin Wall Kimmerer's Braiding Sweetgrass, like the OG Braiding Sweetgrass. I know that some AP 12th graders are reading that, but like it's essays that people use for college. And it's not to say that I don't think that they should be used. I think there's sort of this weird dichotomy between like, let's fill with like all sorts of trauma and like almost stereotypical sort of Native stuff, and then swing the pendulum to like really complex texts. And I'm like, it's where's the middle ground? How do we actually have good conversations? And especially not using like the canon of really important text.
I do know that the YA of Braiding Sweetgrass has been a wonderful read. We love it. But I really see your point. I think that I know that my brother-in-law really leans on Braiding Sweetgrass, but taking it apart, for like these chewable bites, but hopefully today we'll kind of go over some other options. I'll say the Serviceberry is a cute little read. I would say for like a good intro to, so Robin Wall Kimmerer, I always have a hard time with that last name, but it just has really, I don't know if you're viewing, it's a cute little illustration of a deer. So I think for high school, this is something that would be digestible for the high schoolers, with that Braiding Sweetgrass vibe.
And it's like a single essay, whereas Braiding Sweetgrass is multiple essays. And I think with any like that, a good primer, right, to thinking about Native literature is it isn't just something that you'll just read and be one and done with.
Right.
And I think that's maybe why people miss the mark with Native lit is they're like, oh, it's too complex, or I don't understand it, or, you know, I don't understand the themes, or it doesn't jive with what I know about lit. And so I think as we go through here, just to remember that there are other ways of seeing and being in the world.
Right. And high school is about kind of showcasing those experiences and then, you know, before you're out in the world. So
I love that you have a Jen Ferguson book. I also have one. Constellation of Minor Bears. I did bring this one up, I believe, in the Love episode. This one, for folks viewing, this is also an advanced readers edition. They sent me this one and I wrote some questions for their teacher guide. I really enjoyed this book. One of the things that I appreciate about Jen is that she, right at the beginning, talks about, like, as you read this, just be aware that there's like gender issues and there's talking about weight and societal expectations about weight. And like, if these are triggers for you, just things are mentioned. And she just tries to gently bring people in.
That's so nice of an author. Yeah.
And I thought that's so kind. Like,
yeah.
You know, again, how do you bring people in safely, bring them back out safely? Jen, she's Métis, and she's written 3 books. You have one, then there's this one, and then those Pink Mountain Nights is another one of hers. Again, have it on my TBR pile. I have a great buddy, Dr. Joaquin Munoz, and I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, he had a New Year's resolution that he wasn't going to buy any more books. And I was like, for that year, and I was like, what? And the little asterisk behind that was he had to read all the ones he currently had in his house that he hadn't read. And I was like,
that
I get that, but also, really?
My son would have a hard time with that. I am a big library user. I think we've had this discussion before. You know, my sisters really like the books and keep the books, and I like to give them back and have them rotate. And my son is definitely one that buys books.
He's the keeper.
He is, but he does both. He really likes the library books. He likes to read them and then see if he wants to purchase it. And then our Friday nights are going to the bookstore, you know? Cool. Yeah. So this is the summer of bitter and sweet. It's ice cream shop first love. So I think this is a perfect high school novel to pick up. And it's just, I think this is a great high school read.
Yeah. I love this one as well. Mm-hmm. You know, just challenges of like graduation, expectations for after high school, love, fitting in, family dynamics.
Yes. Family in here as well. Yep. Definitely. Yeah. So Jen Ferguson.
Great job.
So, and I think one that I could play off of too is Crooked Hallelujah. So this is kind of along the same family. Cherokee family, and kind of goes through the experiences there. I really enjoyed it. There was like, I just imagined the house, the slamming of the, screen door. I could just kind of be there. So Kelly Jo Ford, I would say this is a relatively easy read. There are some aspects of it that you might want to talk about a little more deeply, but gives kind of the Native family experience in Cherokee land. So
nice.
I like this one.
So if folks have listened to our middle school podcast, I mentioned how much I love Rain Is Not My Indian Name. It's one of your books.
Yep.
I wanted folks to be aware of Hearts Unbroken. Rain shows up in this book.
Oh.
And so it isn't a sequel. It's Cynthia does a really nice job of reintroducing her family of characters. This is actually one of the books I remember reading during the pandemic because I just picked up so many Native books and I was like, too much drama, too much trauma. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And this one was it was sweet and I really enjoyed reading it. But just whereas Rain Is Not My Indian Name takes place in middle school, Hearts Unbroken is high school specific. But it's just,
Cynthia.
this little bit of romance and figuring out your life. It's just, she does such a nice job of creating a story and building on characters. And so, yeah, thank you, Cynthia, for this one, because it was, again, another home run for me.
Cynthia's, I feel like she needs a superhero shirt or something.
She probably wouldn't wear it either.
A beaded cape. There we go. My next book, I probably would maybe say these two. Yeah, I'm glad they're right after each other. So Joy, Harjo, Catching the Light. I picked this up. This is one of the ones, walking around Birch Bark. And Joy is just something someone that I absolutely adore. Love hearing her speak. Every time I just take notes when I listen to her. She's just an amazing spirit, and so glad that we have her in this world too. But this is a memoir, so she talks about being part. And I think maybe why I like this is it really gives background to her life and her writing experience. And she was in Albuquerque at the University of New Mexico, which my mom was a librarian at for many, many years. And she talks about Kiva Club, and I was part of Kiva Club, and my mom was the advisor for many years. And it just really gives, I feel like it gives not on the heavy side, but of a Native person's experience in education, in just life, and then heading towards writing. So I think it's I would say it's easy in parts to read through, and then there's some parts you want to go a little bit slower, but definitely Catching the Light is a cute, wonderful book by Joy. But I'll maybe So okay. So when I first moved here to Minnesota, which is a decade ago, my sister was like, you have to read this one. This is your first read in Minnesota. And I couldn't put it down. So it's Night Flying Woman, and it's really transports you back and gives experiences, and well written. And I feel that this is something that maybe should be a requirement, right? And I'd like to hear your thoughts on this book, Odia, but I believe there's just where it writes and it makes you understand what we went through. And there's one part I believe in here where it talks about how the BIA official was, doing blood quantum. And so it gives the experience of what really went on. And so really enjoyed this book. It's not a book that I felt like I needed to talk to someone after about, where it was a heavy read or anything like that. But it's well written. I probably need it in big text now. It's with but yeah. So
what year did Ignatia Broker write that one? It's not modern.
No.
Right. And
yeah.
so I think that one makes it a little bit harder to read in that
83. Yep.
It
this is
feels
83.
different when you read it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
And I don't want to say old fashioned, but just how the story unfolds. It's how she tells a story is probably much more of almost like a traditional way of telling a story.
Right.
Whereas like some of the language here is a little more flourished and contemporary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where that one, it could be a little challenging for high schoolers because it's matter of fact writing to me.
Yes, it is. It is. Yep.
But
it's very true.
Yeah.
But
still worth it.
Yeah. I think that this one is something that I feel like Minnesotans should read sometime in their life. It's one of our early on writings of our native authors here. What's next on your list there?
So I brought Voices from Pejutazizi, and if folks remember the Understand Native Minnesota campaign, which helps fund this podcast, we gave away 20,000 copies of this book. And why I wanted to bring it up to the forefront again is, holy cow, is it hard to find things about Dakota people?
Oh, yes.
It is like
Agreed.
Freaking hen's teeth finding Minnesota native or Dakota perspective. So this particular book, it is family stories, but also contemporary stories, ton of little vignettes. You can pull them out. Really gives different perspectives from family stories, the Dakota War, injustices throughout time. And this book is written by Teresa Peterson and her uncle, Walter Labatt Jr., who goes by Super. And just lovely people. We had Teresa. Sadly, you weren't able to make that one.
Yeah.
But we had Teresa, and on the podcast, she gave us a tour of her garden. But just a lovely person, and sharing such
really
personal
is.
Stories is really valuable, because you cannot find great Dakota resources. They just simply don't exist.
But they're starting.
They're starting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely fills a void, and it's a good resource.
Yeah. Get it in your schools. Okay. So I have the Colonization and the Wampanoag. Did I say right? Okay. Sorry. I always question my phonetics sometimes, but so have this one. I feel like this is definitely one. It's always a touchy subject, I feel like, because there's that nostalgia with Thanksgiving and so forth. But this is written, so it has it. I don't know. So for folks, that it's different text, and so I feel like it is maybe an easier read for high schoolers, the way that it's written and printed and so forth. So it is more of social studies kind of vibes, and giving more of an honest, truthful account. So it's the Race to the Truth series. And so like the discovery of America. So this is one that I had brought up for the high schoolers to read and get, maybe really understand the flip side of the coin, right? The other side of the story.
And in case folks don't know where the Wampanoag are, it's like Cape Cod. It's, they're Martha's Vineyard,
Right.
So when we hear Thanksgiving story, that's legit. That's them.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Interesting thing about that particular book was it recently, I think it was in Texas, they moved it to the fiction section.
Oh.
And so it became like a big thing. And I think we're going to see more and more of that.
Right.
Like, whose truth are we allowed? Right. Because it says Race to the Truth.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to have to contend a lot with.
To find that for ourselves, right? Like, yeah.
And finding multiple perspectives and learning stories from the people who should be telling them. And that'll be more and more what we need to focus on.
Yeah, I think that's what comes in at high school, right? You kind of like, oh, why is it this way? Why are we doing it this way? And where are we getting this information from? And is there more people that can
How can we be critical users of
exactly
what we read and
exactly.
what we absorb?
Yeah. And so I think it's really easy sometimes to take books, and especially around natives, oh, this native book, this novel is the honest to God truth, just because they don't have much else to go on or so forth. And so, but a novel is a novel, right?
Yeah.
And so there may be, sure, experiences, but you can't. So I think finding that out for our young students and our children, our families, and putting that thinking cap on, definitely.
This one, One Native Life by Richard Wagamese, showed up in our Love podcast.
Yes, I remember it's from something. Yes.
It's one of the books that we're giving away in that podcast, or have given away in that podcast. I, again, adore Richard Wagamese.
Yes.
Short stories.
You have your favorites.
I'm always thinking about what types of stories or what types of literature are accessible to everyone. And I know that there are a mix of reading levels.
Yes.
So how
definitely.
can we be mindful of appropriate topics and appropriate authors without alienating students? And Richard I love all of his stuff. And so this one, these little stories, several pages long, bite-sized, suitable for use in, I would even say middle school classrooms.
Yeah.
If folks want it.
I like that you're thinking about the variety of different readers, the different levels, the different interests. I think that's what this podcast is really about. And the fact that even since COVID, our readers have really struggled, I think. So good to say that and acknowledge that that's the reality of our lives right now. So I picked a horror one, Man-Made Monsters. And so I have not read this, but I'm not a big being scared fan or anything like that. But this, I really wanted to give the readers something, or the listeners something that the closest I ever really got was, oh goodness, Wab Rice's, oh gosh, what is that one?
Moon on Crusted Snow.
Yes, that's as close to maybe being scared novel that I've been able to read. But that's a really good book too to mention for high schoolers. Moon on the Crusted Snow. So to kind of play off of Marrow Thieves, maybe in our last podcast for middle schoolers, but that one is I can't ever say it, dystopian novel. And so he's a wonderful writer out of Canada as well. But so this is a horror book, and Tommy Orange raves about it, and I love Tommy, so I'll trust him. So if you like horror stories, this would be a good one to pick up. It's Cherokee.
And Stephen Graham Jones.
Oh, that's another one that
for people who like scary.
Love. Yes.
I've not, again, I'm like you, that isn't my go-to. I prefer more light and love, and
it gets into my psyche, and then as soon as I close my eyes, it just comes back, and it messes with my sleep. So I tend to veer away. But everybody,
people love them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So if scary is your jam,
yes.
Which then we think we've talked about it. Don't Whistle at Night.
Yes.
And that was like dark fiction. So again, more scary.
And Wab Rice is in that one as well.
And Richard Van Camp is in that one.
Mm-hmm.
And that one's short stories, but I again own the book. Haven't read it. But
I've heard that teachers probably need to really read through it and kind of pick and choose. Some of them are maybe a little racy, maybe. And that particular one, but Don't Whistle at Night is definitely in that
scary.
Yeah.
And we're seeing more and more of that diversification.
I love it. I love
genre.
this. Yes, we've been pigeonholed for many, many years, and now we get to really start expanding our writing, and it's a lot of fun to see all these writers come up.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else do we have here? I know
I am not familiar with Running with Charging Woman, so I was excited to see that
Yeah, this one made me think of we had a request recently, well, not too recently, but of coming of age, right? Like we're you're going through your changes and figuring, into the adulthood, you're getting into that like adolescence and so Running with Changing Woman is a good it's Navajo and it's just goes on those experiences and so forth. So it's on Selena bookshelf. So they've had some really good books over the years. But these again might be hard to find. But
where did you find that one?
This came with the American Indian Youth Literature Awards submissions. But I believe you have to go straight to their website to purchase.
And I'm sure Birch Bark could get it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And you can request your library to have it. I really am a big believer in your public library. There's always going to be a link somewhere on your library website to request a book. And I encourage people to request books and often. And I know my library only lets you submit I think 6 per month or something like that. And I have met my max sometimes. But definitely do that. And so then you can help them expand their bookshelves. The buyers and so forth for libraries really appreciate those recommendations because, they can't be everywhere seeing every book, right? So definitely if there's a book that you're interested in and your library carrying, or maybe you want to check it out first before you purchase, or so forth, be like my kiddo, definitely request it with the library.
That one makes me laugh because it reminds me of the National Indian Education Association's, my friend who works there, Desi Lynn, and she's a runner. She's Navajo. She's a runner.
Yep.
Probably looks that beautiful when she runs too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So it just cracks me up, this idea of Navajos and running to greet the day. And, just
I can't run to save my life. So
you're more Menominee.
Well, my dad is a runner. My dad won state and back in the day, and I didn't get that gene. Didn't get the gene. Running is not my son got it though, which is good. Yeah. Well, let's do, I feel like let's do some of yours.
So I actually brought 4 graphic novels because I always love to talk about graphic novels because I do love a good picture. So I have the Helen Betty Osborne story. And so this one is about murdered and missing murdered Indigenous women, which I feel like more and more people are. Maybe it's more visible. Minnesota has their MMIW license plate.
Right.
But, if people are curious, I think this one's really great. It's Highwater Press. I absolutely love The Outside Circle. So if you're watching, you can see the shadow.
Oh, yes.
And they're so clever in the imagery. Mm-hmm. But essentially, young man who's in a gang ends up going to prison for his crimes, and he then has to learn his culture as a way of healing. Not has to, but for his own survival, he does. And here's the smoke on when he learns how to smudge. The bear shows up a lot for him. Love this book.
You really like those ones that turn around and make change.
I do. And there's one particular, if you're watching, where is it? So when he's in prison and he ends up going to a healing halfway house, but they talk a lot about, they do a family tree and they talk about all the different types of trauma, and not to absolve him of where he's at in life, but like the accumulated trauma and the impact that has. So there are, some harder themes in here, but I think it's just handled so well in terms of like healing and self-forgiveness, coming full circle, learning your culture. And then I brought a couple of, one's called Soldiers Unknown and the other's Tales of the Mighty Code Talkers. Because we often, what do we talk about for Veterans Day, or how do we acknowledge military and Indigenous service people? I wanted folks to just think about that. Like no shame to, or no disregard to the Navajo Code Talkers, but we're always like Navajo Code Talkers.
Right.
And there are other types of service. And I believe the statistic is Native Americans serve at a higher percentage per capita than any other demographic in the U.S. military.
Right.
And so wanted folks to be aware of a couple of other resources.
Minnesota, Dakota were code talkers as well. So to bring that into your classroom, a good learning lesson, and how we contribute to the military in that way.
And I believe that there was a story just in November about Native American or Dakota Code Talkers for Native American Remembrance Day.
Yeah, it was, I forget who it was through, but Darlene St. Clair.
Yes.
Dr. Darlene St. Clair was part of that. I believe her family was. So, talking about family trees, some mighty people and that. I'll just really quickly go through these last ones. My good man, Eric Gainsworth. I'm saying that probably incorrectly because now I always say it phonetically wrong in my head. But this is a Native journalist. He goes through. I just think that this is it is probably on the higher area, like more of it's a lot of pages. It's deeper, 400 pages. And
he's written several, highly acclaimed books.
Right.
He isn't just, even though I own them, he just hasn't made it into my realm yet. And I don't know why that is.
I just think with this one, giving the idea of like a Native journalist and like that viewpoint, and just again thinking of the variety of readers that are out there too.
He's also like a ton of great books that highly recommended.
Yes, so get it into your pile.
I know I need to get it
try
into my
it and see maybe you'll like it. But so the Heartbeat of Wounded Knee, really quickly, for the young readers by David Troyer. It has the easier to read font and so forth.
Did I tell you they call that youngification?
Oh, really?
It's like the weirdest thing. Yeah, when they create an adaptation.
I like the variety of different fonts. I feel like we're always looking at the same one, and there's so many out there. But so that one is great. I do have to give a mention to one of my favorite authors here in Minnesota, Marcy Rendon. So I brought her first one, Murder on the Red River. Oh my gosh, there's like nail polish all over this one and everything. But she is just rocking and rolling through the books, and really great book to read, I think, for high schoolers if you're looking for a novel. And then, of course, I'll just end with Wampanoag, The Reason You Walk. So this is about his father. And I think this is something that you can, the pictures and the different things, giving the instance of this is in Canada, but a Native man and his life, and it's such a beautiful family, and good words in this one. So, Wap Canoe for my last pick. And what do you have for your last one?
So these books have been recommended to me. So have you read anything by Darcie Little Badger?
No, but
so Darcie has her PhD in oceanography, so total nerd. So many people have recommended Alazzo.
Mm-hmm.
And so it might be the one I tuck in my bag to start, but it's so she can see animals that have passed, and there's like this undercurrent of mystery in there. And so there's Alazzo, and then she has a prequel as well.
Oh,
and so I
didn't know that one.
Both of them. And then she has her third book, A Snake Falls to Earth.
I've heard, I was going to put that in my pile.
So many people have recommended Darcie Little Badger. And sorry, Darcie, it's not you, it's me.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yes.
And so I just want folks to put that on their radar,
right? Because
I have heard so many good things. And so I have to just buck up and
well, you're always on a plane and doing all these things, so to bring those on the ride with you. But
yes,
really appreciate everyone listening to the end here and all our suggestions, and there are plenty more out there that you can pick up. These are just some of the highlights. I feel like we could go on for hours.
For sure. And the pressure of just like the books that every library should have. Well, we could fill your library full of native books given the opportunity.
Which is such a blessing to have so many authors to choose from. And definitely let us know some of your favorites. Pass this on to fellow educators and families. And
I'd also love to hear if people are using these books, how they're how they're using them.
Yeah, that would be exciting. Yeah, follow up with us.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Books Are Good Medicine. Subscribe to our channel on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can also visit our website, booksaregoodmedicine.com, to find episodes and resources, or to send us a comment. This podcast is sponsored by the Shakopee, Metawakan Sioux community and produced by Goff Public. Our theme music is Stomp Dance by Blue Dog. The opinions expressed on the Books Are Good Medicine podcast by its co-hosts and guests are their own in their personal capacities and do not necessarily reflect the views of any organization with whom they are affiliated or of the podcast sponsor.